I think there was some disbelief that anybody could invade what was British territory, but it all happened very, very quickly, because on the 2nd of April, when they actually invaded Stanley, that was on Friday morning, and we actually sailed the two main warships, the carriers, on the Monday, having embarked the squadrons and all the stores and everything else over the weekend. So it was an incredibly quick build-up and deployment by the Navy. We had only 20 Sea Harriers in frontline squadrons down here, and I was somewhat dismayed when the ships sailed. I was actually on the Admiral's staff who was controlling the carriers and amphibious ships. I'd seen all my chums deploying to war, and that afternoon the Admiral in charge of Naval Aviation actually rang me up personally and said, Tim, would you like to come back and form a new squadron? And he gave me a very simple remit. He said, go to the airfield, find yourself an office, find yourself some aircraft, some aircrew to fly them, and form a squadron and be ready to go to war in 20 days. So that's exactly what we did.
Port St. Carlos we chose as our site because of the deep water. We'd calculated that if the Canberra was attacked by aircraft and started to sink, there was still sufficient depth of water that the ship, all the troops on board, could walk out in dry into the nearest boats and get away. Proved quite a good place. It was not the easiest place to defend from air attack, but nevertheless, with the Sea Harriers helping us, reasonable. I thought we survived reasonably well, because the enthusiasm in the troops, frankly, was quite remarkable. It all made it actually almost an enjoyable job to bring in the whole of 3 Commando Brigade, plus the Army attachments and things. And we managed to land everyone without a single loss to enemy action.
The only aircraft in the world that could have operated was the Sea Harrier. Now, the huge advantage of the Harrier type aircraft is that you could come to a hover over the ship and simply wait for the ship to quieten down in its quiescent period, as it was known, and you could wait for it to stop pitching and then land. And if it was really pitching badly after that, the aircraft was tied down very rapidly. If you're in a conventional aircraft, you have no control over when you hit the deck, so whether the aircraft carrier was going to be pitching or not was totally out of your hands. I mean, had we had a conventional aircraft carrier down here, I think we would have lost, because we were reactive to what the Argentines were doing. The Argentines could wait for good weather ashore. They knew what the weather was like here, so they could plan their flying to attack when the weather was suitable. But quite often the weather would be suitable here for them to attack, and 200 miles to the east or so, it would be totally unsuitable. And so we were reactive to what was happening. That was an extremely important point. We needed to fly whenever was required. I think had we not had the Sea Harriers to engage the attacking aircraft, the defending those ground forces and the ships in San Carlos area and other places, it would not have been impossible because they all had defensive systems, but it would have been far more difficult.